Peter Racy here, Director of Collections, 35th Anniversary People's Committee of Expo 88. On the 28th of February 2023, I addressed the Brisbane City Council about the legacy and the memory of Sir Llew Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Racy. You can stand or sit depending on your preference, and your 5 minutes starts when the microphone's been turned on. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Lord Mayor, councillors, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians and pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging, plus my great uncle, Tom Racy, Alderman for Fortitude Valley during World War II and leader of the ALP opposition after World War II. As this is the first 5-year anniversary of Expo 88, since the passing of Sir Llew Edwards, I thought it worth acknowledging the legacy of Mr. Expo himself. Yeah, nerves. My message is simple, but the setting more complex. In the legacy narrative of Brisbane, Anzac Day and Canon Garland's work in bringing that about, World War II and the work of Queensland-born and first American ambassador Richard Casey as he lobbied for Brisbane in 1941, the 1982 Commonwealth Games and the vision of Clem Jones, World Expo 88 and the extraordinary efforts of Sir Llew Edwards, the Goodwill Games and the G20. The 1982 Games delivered a world first when a mascot came alive and winked. An excellent partner to the very last Goodwill Games, we can claim host city of a Commonwealth, a Goodwill and an Olympic Games. It's gold, gold, gold for Brisbane. Looking to World Expo 88, it was, in actual fact, no such thing. It was a specialised expo called World Expo due to the cancelled plans of Paris and the 100th anniversary of the Eiffel Tower. To Sir Lew's great credit, we got a full-sized expo quota of visitors. Our legacy is important. We have great food, so does Melbourne. We have a great climate, almost year-round. So does Melbourne, about 4 times a day. Within half an hour's drive of Brisbane, you can be in the wilds of Mount Cootha. Within half a day's drive of Melbourne, you can be in the wilds of Ballarat. Many cities, as you've just seen, have access to marketable attractions. Melbourne's history and art screams at you from every corner. Brisbane needs to do the same, and that's where city assets like the World Expo 88 Art Trail, a Brisbane City Council attraction, Google it if you are not aware of it, needs to be not just maintained but loved and cared for and grown where feasible and possible. But no less so than our legacies from Anzac Day through to the G20. The custodian of these legacies are you, the councillors of the city. So as you focus your minds on the potential legacies of 2032, remember and use these legacy events to start up higher on the ladder of marketability. You will do the excellent work of Sir Llew Edwards a great service. So, in conclusion, let me touch on a couple of Expo 88 legacy facts that will surprise you. The old Victoria Bridge abutment was restored for Expo 88. It includes Daphne Mayo's first public commission. In Anzac Square is her most important work. In the Brisbane Exhibition and Convention Centre, there is to be found the G20 room, so named as President Obama was smitten by the Indigenous art collection on the walls. That collection was curated for and first displayed at World Expo 88. Nearby, the Marquetta Paradigm, made in 1988, standing at 1,988 millimetres tall, flags the Expo 88 collection in the John Oxley Library, which does run to several thousand pages of it. In Burke Park, a sculpture exists called The Rock. At Expo, it was located in front of the Australian Pavilion. It was meant to be red as in Uluru, but it was grey as in a mistake, a result of a cement truck hiccup. At the end of Expo 88, Sir Llew asked the sculptor what he would like done with the piece. Bulldoze it into the river, came the reply. Now lastly, the only piece of Expo 88 still in exactly the same location, doing exactly the same function as 1988, is the World Expo 88 Rainforest Grove at Anzac Park. Canon Garland Overpass lands in the middle of it. The World War II related National Australia Remembers Freedom Wall overlooks the Grove. In the Fern House, which is very close by, is a truly world-famous sculpture from Expo 88 called The Chair. So in closing, please utilise our legacies. Don't fall into the trap of being defeatist, negative or downcast. Sir Llew never was. He was open, goal-oriented and positive. And as a result, Brisbane in 1988 was the happiest place in the world, or it was until Expo closed. Thank you, Sir Llew.
Mr Racy, thank you. That's your 5 minutes. Councillor Adams, are you responding as Deputy Mayor?
I am indeed, and thank you, Mr Racy. I just call you Peter for coming in this afternoon because I know your passion on Expo 88 and the Commonwealth Games in 1982. And thank you for coming in and taking the time to address Council today. You've had an important role helping us through the Expo 88 commemorations we've had over the years, and it wasn't until I saw your name come up to speak today that I had forgotten. It was 35 years this year, which makes me feel extremely old since Expo 88 was here in our city as well. And we've had many significant events, as you've mentioned, over the years since then with Goodwill Games and G20. And legacy is a word that we've been hearing a lot about over the last couple of years. We've got our sights set on the Brisbane 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games, and we've got an incredible opportunity to think about what those new legacies are going to be created for future generations for Brisbane as well.